six, five, four, three, two, one, go. Welcome to our episode about the Ted Hurley, the Murray Darling race, the 110. I thought it was a really cute way to talk about the history behind the name, the branding of the Ted Hurley and how it came about. So with me today, I've got Clint Cartwright and Luke Totland. And Luke, please apologise my enunciation of that name. Just wanted to talk to you after seeing a post on Facebook just recently, before Christmas actually, about the boat recovery. And one of our major partners, of course, our good mate who designed the On the Rope podcast logo, Hayden Everett, had a bit to do with rebadging the boat for you, I understand. So welcome, gents.
Welcome. Good to see you.
So what's the history of the boat? How did this come about and this refresh idea? Tell me a bit about, what was behind it, Clint.
Well, it's probably a bit of a long-winded story, mate, but I can make it short and sweet. But my family, my old man actually owned the boat I think we purchased it when I was only an early teen in about mid-1993 off the Branson family, who still have a bit to do with ski racing, obviously. And they actually purchased it off the Hurley family. So we had the boat. My old man actually ran it with limited success, only a couple of times, but it actually turned out to be just our sort of social family boat, which is probably a little bit over the top. But we actually, so the old man owned the boat, ran it a couple of times, and I think we sold it off in about 2003 again to Mark Johnson, actually, who has ran, and he's actually married to Ted Hurley's daughter, Jenny. So they brought it back into the family, I guess, and ran it with a bit of success. After that, mate, I sort of lost track of the boat, probably for a good 6 or 8 years, and then reached out sort of one day just through Facebook and socials and just asked a question, like if anyone sort of knew where the boat was, just sort of was interested to see where it ended up. And obviously I was a little bit older then and sort of had a little bit of a sort of, I guess, I don't know, I just, how people they end up sort of having a bit of sentimental sort of reasons, and just sort of tried to reach out and see where it was. Long story short, ended up tracking it down up in Queensland. The fella had it up there, sort of showed him a few photos of it when we had it and stuff, and backwards and forwards. And I think late 2013, he actually said that he was going to move the boat on, and one thing led to another. I ended up back with the boat, so back in the family after a solid 10 years. Sat on the boat for a couple of years, and look, mate, we followed the Southern 80, and I've been going since I was, early teens, and loved all the boats and all that, and probably at the time didn't realise sort of the sort of stature of recovery itself, I guess. When I got it back, it had sort of had a wrap job as recovery. We ran it for a couple of years. In 2017, formed a team just to get out on the water. It was always a bit of a thing that I wanted to sort of do, and to actually get out there. And I guess with the guys that sort of ski behind us, we formed a bit of a team and did a solid 2 years of running just in 70 mile an hour class. But I was forever just getting hounded, and just interested people like, oh, it's so great to see the boat back out on the water and stuff. And sort of then probably dug a little bit deeper into the history and sort of who Ted Hurley was, and realised that, mate, he's obviously a bit of a legend of the sport. And I think from all accounts that I've ever I never knew him personally, but all accounts, mate, he's an absolute gentleman of the sport, I guess. So, sort of 2 years of running it, I sort of decided that the team wanted to go a little bit quicker, and, they were sort of out phasing avgas and stuff, and it's a big old angry boat. So we ended up with another boat. So I picked up another boat and sort of sat that on the side for a bit. And then it sat there for probably a good year and a half, 2 years. And then I thought, you know what, everyone really loves the boat, love seeing it out there. And I thought, what better way to sort of get it back out there. I thought, well, let's strip it down and see. I collated probably in excess of a couple hundred photos of it, just old photos, and thought, let's do something. People enjoy to see it, so let's do a bit of a legacy to sort of Ted Hurley, I guess. So that's when Luke sort of was involved. I got onto Luke through a sort of informal group we've got going on social media, Facebook, the Everingham Owners Group. Just put the feelers out and ended up with Luke's number, and then he came over for a look early 2021, and I guess the rest is history from there. It's how it sits is how it is now. Hopefully it's sort of, it's the, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sort of just, we restored it basically just to sort of maybe just, I don't know, a fitting tribute, I guess, for a legend of the sport, I guess. That's probably the easiest way to say it. Yeah,
it's a really good story. And a lot of the people that I know in ski racing, and particularly around the Mildura area where I grew up, of course, the name is synonymous and known up there. And a lot of them, I think of the McGlynn family, and I think of even people like Craig Harper talk a lot, and for that matter, Hayden Everett. Often the conversations I have with him is about, we should be talking about all these older boats that have been going around and whatever. So it's really fantastic to see it, and it looks really trick. So, Luke, what did you have to do to get the boat back up to the specs it's at now?
Well, as Clint said, I went and had a look at it, and it had quite a few sort of war wounds and scratches and gouges and chips, because it's been a race boat its whole life, yeah. So, yeah, we agreed that we're going to paint the whole boat again, and top to bottom, front to back. So, yeah, Clint stripped it out mostly, got it down the shop, and we set to work on repairing it. And, the laborious job of sanding and more sanding and painting and that sort of thing. And, we managed to pull it off pretty well, I think. And there's a massive amount of hours in the tape out, because lines are tapered and curved in the same spot. So, yeah, massive amounts of hours to get it to that point. And then once it was painted, it was pretty obvious that, well, we need to go all the way now.
Yeah.
And the boat, it's being the iconic boat it is with a significant history. It survived that this long as it was. So, as Clint said, it was just fitting and a given that it was, through the whole thing.
Yeah. And so, you talk hours and hours, like rough number, 100 hours?
Oh, there's probably 250 hours in the paint.
Yeah. And tell me, what's your history with ski racing? You obviously know about it and the involvement. I don't have met you before.
No, I was born into a boating family, water skiing, social skiing. And as I got older, circuit boat racing, ski racing, obviously everyone goes to Southern 80 and loves it.
Yeah.
My brother, Matty, he's younger than me. He's skied before, ski raced, and he's building a boat. So that's just sort of how we got into it,
Yeah.
Just the love of the sport and passion for it. So.
Yeah. And tell me, was there then a focus on the engine? Did that need much work?
It didn't, but once we sort of, like Luke said, we got to that stage, I was thought, well, there's no sort of doing this sort of half-baked now. So it was a full brand new bottom end, effectively. So a long motor, and then all the top end is still the original. So the original Fisher supercharger and all that sort of stuff that was on it back in 87, I guess, when it won the Southern 80. So yeah.
And so tell me, where's the boat at now? What's your intent to do with it in the future?
Look, mate, to be honest, to see it in the flesh, I've taken a million photos of it, and it probably doesn't really do it that much justice. It's that immaculate that I'd be almost hesitant to put it back in the water, to be honest. So, look, I'm still involved in ski racing. We're doing a sportsman's class this year in another boat, and look, mate, I'll probably reach out to the ski club, Mildura and stuff, and maybe just take it there for other people to enjoy, I guess.
That'd be awesome. I'm sure there'd be plenty of people up there that'd love to look at it. I remember. At the 80 a few years back, they had a few of the old boats. It was an anniversary of some description, and it created quite a bit of interest both at the show and shine and also on the actual event days, and people pouring over these old boats from time past. So that's awesome to hear. And tell me, what's the team? What boat are you running for the current season?
This season we've got. I picked up a big 21-foot racecraft, formerly known as Reactor, Lance Heathcote. So he actually built the engine for recovery again, and we had a bit of a chat prior to sort of retiring recovery about changing engine combos, and I just didn't feel comfortable about running all new technology in an old school boat. So one thing led to another, and it was just funny timing that he was going to move on his boat. So I've purchased that. We've only had very sort of limited runs at the moment. Obviously we've had COVID interruptions and all the rest of it, but I renamed it Recovered, just keep with the recovery theme. So, I'm sure you'll see us out on the water there in sportsman's class.
That's bloody awesome. That is really good news. So tell me, Luke, do you want more work? Have you got, you would like people to approach you if they've got this sort of project in front of them?
Yeah, well, that's pretty much the reason I started the business like full-time. I used to be part-time after hours, and we went full-time, and I was very lucky to get to meet Clint and get the opportunity to do that boat. So that's what we'd like to do.
Okay. So good time for a plug for you. How do people get hold of you? What's your...
Okay. So it's Midnight Restos. We've got Facebook, we've got Instagram. You'll find all our details there. So just, give us a call, send us a message, and we do it all from mild to wild, from the 40s up to about 2,000. Service repairs, restorations, but what we've done with Clint and recovery is what we love to do.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. I'm really, really wrapped in it and really, really pleased to see that. And I love hearing about this. So we'll put up some details in the show notes on the Facebook page for you, so people know how to get hold of you. Worst case scenario, Clint, you're well known in the sport, so mate, I'm sure you'd be happy to hand on the details. And of course, people know Lance pretty well. He's very well known in the ski racing circles. So that's fantastic. I'm really pleased to you could come in and give us a bit of information about it. Thank you so much for turning up today. I do look forward to seeing you up at Mildura, and thank you again for joining us on the road.
No probs. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Next up, an update on the Ted Hurley, but before that, a reminder about the SRA Loyalty program. You might have heard in our last live broadcast on the Rope Facebook page live program, Dave and Bisho talking about the SRA Loyalty program. This new program, the information will be out on the SRA page very, very shortly, I reckon before the running of the Ted Hurley. It's a membership program available to all members of SRA. So go to the webpage, look for the introductory information. As an SRA member, you get access to discounts on purchases for fuel, for groceries, electrical, flights, accommodation, and many, many more things, including our own Coldies, Tow Bars and Bull Bars sponsors and Savage Force. They have web pages that are aligned to this program. Links will be up on the SRA page within the next week with our own SRA branding for the loyalty program available to all SRA members. Information about what to do next. Now, on with the show. A special interview with the President of Mildura Ski Club, Geoff Thomson, on the running of the 2022 Murray Darling 110 Ted Hurley Ski Racing Classic, Saturday 22nd, Sunday 23rd January 2022. Welcome, Geoff.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I am really pumped up, actually. I am so excited to think our first ski racing classic back in my hometown, Mildura, out of Wentworth into Mildura, I should say, with using the Murray and the Darling. A great event that's becoming very much a big fixture on the calendar. So tell me, what are the latest conditions, Geoff?
Yeah, well, I guess we've struggled with a number of things. Obviously, the sport struggled with COVID, Tim, and this latest Omicron outbreak certainly makes you a bit nervous, but the race is going ahead despite that. Our club's view is that we'll go ahead till we're told we can't. So we obviously, as every club does in the next month or two, is liaising with state and local governments on that one. So at this stage, no impediments. In fact, the New South Wales Premier was quite adamant in a press conference late last week, all events to go ahead, so we draw, great comfort from that, and knowing that we can, barge ahead and put this on. So not without our other challenges. The Darling River and the Murray River have had significant water in them in the last few months. The Darling's just started to pick up again now, but we're in that window where we can see what the flow is going to be out of Wentworth on the particular weekend, a week or so out. So, we're good to go in the Darling. We had a contingency to go out into the Murray and start, for all those who are familiar with the river behind the old hospital there, or not the old hospital, the current Wentworth Hospital. So, but no, we think we're good. There's a flow meter at Batundi which has levelled out. Batundi is halfway between Pooncairn and Mildura, and that gives us an 8-day window of what's going to happen into Wentworth. So on that front, good to go. And of course, sporting wise, that it was always an issue with the numbers, Tim. You know, the hesitancy of getting back in the sport and the hesitancy of people to travel still. But we're seeing pretty good numbers. So the Ted Hurley's range between 80 is the lowest to about 110 boats. We're at 60 at the moment.
Nice.
With a few more entries to come in. So we're pretty satisfied with that. Given that, the change of date and the location a week out from kids going back to school, etc. So, and of course, there is this uncertainty with Omicron floating around, but it's good to come on the show. We've had a lot of questions about whether we're on or off. So certainly,
it's been pretty hot over the last week with a few bits and pieces, people making comments.
Oh, mate, it's this week in Mildura is 40 plus degrees, but that's normally not an issue. But it's humid with it. It was 18% humidity yesterday, and so hopefully that's washed away before we. Of
course, you're in the factory there this morning, getting the machines all wound up. It's not helping with that, the heat in the.
Well, as I just said to you before we started, I've finally conned the staff into starting early in the morning. So yeah, it's pretty early in the morning, but hopefully we get it done just after lunch. But yeah, it's when you get these heat lows, they're just. The humidity's the killer. Yeah.
Sure. So conditions, your expectations, I mean, we're a little bit, a couple of weeks out. What's your expectations? Still going to be pretty warm. And the first event back, so, competitors, expectations for them and things that we need to know, like briefings. You got info on that yet?
Yeah, so we like to do the briefing at the Coomella Club. That is probably the one question mark over the whole event at the moment. We're just liaising with the club, which is their major sponsor, about whether they want 200 or 300 people in the auditorium. If not, we'll probably conduct it outside somewhere in the shade and do it pretty quickly. But the message, again, it hasn't changed, even though this is the first event of the year. The Ted Hurley's a different event in terms of the skiers do that full 50 Ks on the Saturday and turn around and do 100. Well, actually 108 on the Sunday. So we always send out that message to manager skiers. Never more important than this year because of the nature of this being the first event, and we've really only had a couple of minor point scores prior to this. So it's about managing your skiers to get up and back safely is I guess the message, and the message that I know the team at the SRA board are putting out there.
Most definitely, we want competitors to come up, enjoy being back together, competing with the fun and that looking after each other that definitely exists in ski racing. Something that I certainly feel very much part of our sport. So we've got briefings sorted. We still think we're going to start in the Darling, which I always enjoy. It's such a good spot to start from. It's a spectacle, and for people to be able to get up close and personal. There's only a few races in our calendar where you can actually really do that as close to the river. Grafton, you're on the bank and you're close, but you're not quite as close as this. I do recall the race over in Murray Bridge used to be like that when we used to compete there. You would literally stand on the bank and watch these guys get out and do their stuff. It's awesome. So expectations are pretty high. You've got some good numbers. And I do know, just to point to everybody, that the SRA people in the background on memberships are working really, really high. They have started really rolling in now. So I've been talking to the team up there, and that's really exciting as well. So we're all really set to go. Any last-minute instructions, just keep an eye out on Facebook, Geoff?
Yeah, so Facebook's social media, our website's the one. We've purposefully tried to cut costs on this event, knowing that probably we're going to be down at the numbers we are, and that's the way it's turned out to be. So we're not putting out a program this year. That's always a negative cost to the club. We obviously changed the format of the entries. So if you haven't got your entry in yet, we will take entries. We keep taking them basically up to the last moment. We try not to chop any classes, and we generally, with the Ted Hurley in particular, run one or two in a class if we have to. We just accept that and do that. It's just to give everybody a run. So that's our philosophy. We just want everyone to come down and have some fun, Tim. Nothing really else. Just there's been about a bit of chatter around about, is it on, is it off? And so definitely on. Obviously we've faced a few challenges and continue to, and hopefully this Omicron thing peaks out in the next week or two. We're seeing that now. There's some minor restrictions come back on, but that obviously won't affect the race. The other thing is that the river might be in the Darling slightly high. The concern for us more is not about the height of the river or the flow in the river, but the amount of debris in the river. And because it's been flowing for so long, the Murray's actually dropped down the flow in that, so that's not an issue. But the Darling's been flowing for a couple of months, so hopefully we've been keeping an eye on that. We're putting extra precautions in place to make sure reeds, and they get those big clumps of reeds and bits and pieces, so it's clean. That's our main concern. So yeah, we think we're pretty set. Hopefully for the first event for 2 years, Tim.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you and your committee. It's been really, really encouraging to see the social media aspect of the Mildura Club, with knowing that this was the first one, and good on you for putting your name into the ring to take it on. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I look forward to catching up with you over the weekend, and watch this space for the next iteration of On the Rope podcast live feed we've got coming up at the end of January to give us an update on how this race went. Thanks very much, Geoff.
Thanks, Tim. Have a good day.
This episode of On the Road was brought to you by Coldy's Bull Bars and Tow Bars, Savage Force, and Automation and Robotics Services. It was produced by Boris the Boxer Productions in conjunction with Bisho Media